Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'm going to be playing another quick draft of Innistrad Crimson Vow, the only paper set available on Arena right now. So without further ado, let's just slam dunk our excellent Pack 1 Pick 1 Rare Wedding Announcement. This is going to basically spit out two 1/1s and then turn into an Anthem effect, giving your whole field +1/+1 permanently. Also, if you manage to attack with two or more creatures before this card flips, then you could draw some cards off of it instead of creating some 1/1s, but no matter what, you're always getting pretty much a 3-for-1 out of this card. You're going to get two 1/1s and a Glorious Anthem, or you're going to get a 1/1 draw a card and a Glorious Anthem, or you're going to get to draw two cards and get a Glorious Anthem. So this card is absurd, excellent rare, and easily the pick here. There's some other pretty sweet cards in this pack. If this were a junk rare like a dual land or something, we could take a Whispering Wizard, which is quite good in blue-white or blue-red. In blue-white, you get to disturb all of your enchantments from the graveyard, and that is where you're casting a lot of non-creature spells and getting those spirit tokens. And in blue-red, you're just casting a lot of instants and sorceries, lots of removal spells, counter spells, that kind of thing. Whispering Wizard, really solid card in those two decks specifically. Not the most wide card ever. It is pretty narrow because it is for just two really specific archetypes, but it's very powerful in those decks. For the commons, we've got Kindly Ancestor, Heron of Hope, Courier Bat, all being quite good, Falconwrath Celebrants as well. Really solid pack, but pretty easily Wedding Announcement there. And we've got a pretty great card to follow it up. We've got a Resistance Squad that's going to be a 3-mana 3/2, and when it enters the battlefield, if you control another human, you get to draw a card. And human is a pretty prevalent creature type in this format, especially in white, so a 3-mana 3/2 that draws you a card is an incredibly good deal. And I believe, yep, the tokens you get off of Wedding Announcement are human tokens. So that'll help with Resistance Squad, as well as just any human creatures we pick up throughout the game. So I'm happy to take Resistance Squad here. Definitely the best white card in this pack. Other than that, there's Lantern Bearer is competing to be the best card in this pack for such a cheap, efficient little disturb creature. Just gets out there, chips in for damage, really easy chump blocker or sacrifice fodder. Very, very nice card there, but I'm going to go with Resistance Squad over it since we're already in whites, and it does work well with our Wedding Announcement. Pick 3 now. It looks like we will have to push outside of white. The Bride's Gown's a pretty weak equipment, Supernatural Rescue not a great aura, and Nebelgast Beguiler is also quite a slow, expensive card. So we just kind of see what is the best card in this pack regardless of color, and it's probably one of the uncommons. Washaway's not that great though, just cancel basically 3 mana to counter a spell. But Lunar Rejection is pretty great, so it's for 4 mana, return any creature to its owner's hand and draw a card, which is a solid deal. It's a nice tempo play, you're drawing a card off of it, so you're immediately replacing it. And if you happen to be playing against wolves or werewolves, it's just a ridiculously good deal. Actually, if you're playing against any green deck, they're probably playing the 6 mana 6/6 big old wolf thing. And this is solid against that, so yeah, Lunar Rejection is quite the powerful piece of interaction, probably the strongest card in this pack, and if it's not Lunar Rejection, it's just another one of the blue cards like Repository, Scab, or Cradle of Safety here. Pretty weak pack overall. Pack 1 Pick 4 looks like another pretty weak pack overall. We have Nurturing Presence on color, which I had a lot of success with in my last deck, so I might be overvaluing this a little bit, but I think I'm going to just go with this. Next best card is probably Hookhand Mariner or Blood Petal Celebrant as just solid off-color common creatures. Don't see a massive reason to take either of them over Nurturing Presence. If I was going to take one of those two over Presence, it would probably be the Mariner, because in green is going to be a lot of human creatures as well. There will be plenty of human werewolves. There are only humans on the front half, but that's still enough to help out the Resistance Squad a decent bit, so it kind of makes sense with that. But I think I'm just going to take Nurturing Presence here. I thought this card was really, really good in our last deck. Basically, 2 mana to get a 1/1 flyer and have one of your creatures get +1/+1 whenever a creature enters the battlefield under control. This card stacks really well. If you put multiple copies of this onto one creature, that card's going to attack like an absolute semi-truck. And The really good thing about these cards is even if your opponent blows up whatever the Nurturing Presences are on, you aren't really getting 3 for 1 because you're getting a 1/1 Spirit every time you cast these. The only thing that these are really bad against is instant speed removal from your opponent. So you would like to cast these while your opponent's tapped down, but you're pretty okay with your opponent spending removal spell on whatever you threw the presence onto, since you still got a Spirit out of it. So been pretty happy with Nurturing Presence. I'm going to try it out again today. And here we get past one of the cards that worked really well with it in the past, the Kindly Ancestor. Being able to buff up your lifelinking creature is going to make it really hard for your opponent to race you, and Kindly Ancestor, even by itself, is quite an efficient card, quite a good one. 3 mana, 2/3 lifelink again. Lifelink, just a big ability in aggressive matchups where your opponent's going to have a super hard time outracing your damage output because you keep gaining life while you hit them, while they do not. And of course, the Disturb effect on this makes it so it's even versatile, or not versatile, like resilient. It'll come back from the grave. It doesn't just stop doing things when it dies. So Kindly Ancestor, an excellent white common. Very happy to scoop that up. Pick 5. Wow. All right. This is a real nice pack. We have 2 very premier commons in this pack. Those are Bloodcrazed Socialite in black, a 4 mana 3/3 menace that comes with a blood token and can sacrifice that blood to get +2/+2 till end of turn. And the Lantern Bearer that I talked about earlier, being just resilient in the graveyard there. I think I like Lantern Bearer a little bit better with the cards that we have so far. Lantern Bearer is going to be really nice with Nurturing Presence and with Disturb cards, would be the blue-white Disturb deck. However, Bloodcrazed Socialite, the black-white color pair, is kind of about life gain, and we do have 1 lifelinker already, so we could really go either way and be kind of happy with it. We do have 1 pretty solid blue card already, the Lunar Rejection, so Lantern Bearer goes down a direction we're already somewhat headed in, but I really think you could take either. Both are phenomenal commons for different reasons. Lantern Bearer, great early, and Bloodcrazed Socialite, a great win condition. Just hitting massively. Well, pick 7 on the one hand. I am sad that I didn't get to just scoop up 2 Bloodcrazed Socialites in a row. At the same time, there's 3 playable blue cards here. None of these are like super special, but they're all solidly playable. So that's a good sign for blue that we'll have plenty of blue cards in the future, at least in pack 3. So while, again, a little sad not to have the double Bloodcrazed Socialite start here, I'm not too unhappy with the blue cards I'm seeing here, and I think I'm going to go with Syncopate here. It's just great interaction in this format, in this very bomb-heavy format where counterspells are quite good, especially when they can exile things out of your opponent's deck. Gutter Skulker's nice, but it does play out pretty slowly, a 4 mana 3/3 and then 4 mana to recast it from grave. That is its biggest downside there. And then Wretched Throng is good if you can get like a ton of copies of them, and even then it's only really good in the blue-black deck where you have a lot of reasons to sacrifice those. So Syncopate, just the most flexible of these, just fits well into literally any blue deck. It's just good interaction, good at keeping you alive against bomby plays from your opponent. And a pick 8 Lantern Bearer. Now I'm pretty confident we're in the right place. Blue-white Disturb should be a really nice place to be in this draft pod. We even get past a nice late Syncopate here now. Scoop up our second copy of that. Pick 10, we don't get much of anything. I could check my collection here, holding down the Alt key, but it looks like I already have everything here, so we'll take Honored Heirloom since that would be the most likely, although probably not playing that. Now we have Cradle of Safety, which can definitely get played. It's a little counterspell for your opponent's removal spells. Give something +1/+1 hexproof till end of turn. You can also use this as a combat trick to have your creature of equal size beat their creature and survive, and you get a permanent buff after you do that, so Cradle of Safety plays pretty well. Everything's full in the collection, and Supernatural Rescue is just not playable. Even in the Spirit deck, it's just so much mana. So I'm just going to scoop up the Into the Night for Vault Progress. It's just the highest rarity card there. And let's see what we open up in pack 2. Not a wildly exciting pack 2 here, just some solid options. I think the number one for me is going to be this Thirst for Discovery with 2 Syncopates. Thirst for Discovery is really nice. Just having anything to do at instant speed is very good. It makes all of your other instant speed interaction better. That way, if you're in a position where you want to hold up the Lunar Rejection to try to bounce their next play, or you want to hold up the Syncopate to counter their next play, you don't get absolutely hosed by your opponent just using onboard abilities like equip costs or something instead of casting a spell, because then if you have nothing you need to interact to, you still just get to spend all your mana to start drawing some cards with this spell. So Thirst for Discovery, pretty high on my pickup list here because we have 3 other instant speed pieces of interaction, 2 Syncopate, Lunar Rejection, and Cradle of Safety. The more things you have that you can do at instant speed, the better every other instant speed card in your deck gets, generally speaking. The wider variety of things to do at instant speed is what makes them better. So I'll take Thirst for Discovery here. But again, there's like a Repository Scab, which is solid, definitely with double Lantern Bearer. This is solid because those are nice sacrifice fodder. Another Cradle probably wouldn't take a second very highly. And like Dawn Heartgeist, I guess, because we're blue-white, which is the enchantment colors. But yeah, pretty easy Thirst for me. All right, triple Lantern Bearer, let's go. Absolutely scooping this up. I'm not going to trust the bots to draft super consistently here. It's the only blue card in the pack, so it's probably not coming back. So even though I kind of wheeled a Lantern Bearer last pack, I'm not going to try to do it again here because Lantern Bearer is going to be a lot better than Heron Blessed Geist, even though we could run a 1 or 2 of Heron Blessed Geist. It is a 5 mana card, so we don't get to run as many copies of it as Lantern Bearer. This one's fine. Again, it's fine for its cost. A 5 mana 3/3, you can exile it from the grave to get 2 1/1s if you control an enchantment, but in the color pair of white-blue, we'll pretty much always control an enchantment, so this card does play pretty solid, but again, Lantern Bearer, so efficient, so cheap. Slam dunking that card first. There's actually a few ways we can go in this pack that are all pretty exciting to me. We could obviously take a 3rd Syncopate, again just adding to our just stack of instant speed pieces of interaction. We also have Foreboding Statue, which is interesting. We don't really need the mana ramp in this deck. Our most expensive card costs 3 mana right now, and it's not likely to get too much higher. So the mana ramp's not that great, but this does turn into a 5/5 eventually, which is pretty cool. And it'll leave us open to taking more big splashy cards. And if we open some kind of mildly off-color rare, like a black-white rare, then we could try to splash it in with a little bit of mana fixing. So those are the reasons Foreboding Statue is a little exciting. But also Stitched Assistant. When we have 3 copies of Lantern Bearer, Stitched Assistant looks pretty cool. 3 mana 3/2, sacrifice a Lantern Bearer to scry 1 and draw a card, and then the turn after you can cast that Lantern Bearer from your grave to make this a 4/3 flyer. I feel like I'm going to go with the Stitched Assistant. I just think it lines up really well with a lot of what our deck can do, and it'll be our first Explore card. It's kind of filling a unique role that we don't really have right now. Man, we need to draft some humans a little highly in the future. Not so highly that I'm going to take Griff Rider, though. This card looks pretty bad in this deck. Not a lot of creatures are big enough to train this in our deck. But it is worth mentioning because our Resistance Squad is not looking that powerful in this deck, actually. All right. Pack 2, pick 4. Looks like we can pretty easily scoop up a Kindly Ancestor. We don't have any straight up removal. That's another downside of our deck. We just have a couple counter spells we have to try to use at the right time. So maybe Piercing Light ends up on the list of things we could take here because of that. But this is kind of similar to the counter spells where it's not always going to do what we want it to. Sometimes we won't have the counter mana up when our opponent plays their big rare. And then sometimes Piercing Light's only going to do 2 damage to their 6/6 rare or something. So not super high on Piercing Light. I can take the Ancestor here and be pretty happy with it. There we go. Ask and you shall receive. One of the things I was the most worried about was our lack of removal for things that have actually fully hit the board, and now we can get that covered with a Sigarda's Imprisonment, so I'm going to scoop that up. Pretty easy pick here. Repository Scab, Alchemist Retrieval would both be fine, but I was just worried about getting removal, and there it is. Well, Drogskull Infantry is another great Disturb card, a 2 mana 2/2 that disturbs for 4 to give enchanted creature +2/+2. Really nice stuff there. We don't have a lot of 2 mana creatures right now, so it's filling a slot on our curve that is pretty desperately needed, as you can see. We actually have 0 2 mana creatures outside of the Nurturing Presence, so easy Drogskull Infantry. I really don't like Perish Blade Trainee to the point where I'm not going to run it even if I have Resistance Squad in the deck. It's definitely one of the 2-drop creatures as the choice there. Alright, here we have Wanderlight Spirit, which isn't great, and we have a lot of good stuff going on at 3 mana already. Soul Cipher board, which is just really slow, so I don't love that. We'll just take an Adamant Will here, but we're not super likely to play it. Maybe we'd be more likely to play Wanderlight Spirit. I'm actually not sure. Both very filler. We only have 8 creatures. Sure, I'll pick up a Wanderlight Spirit. Not gonna want to play that. Ooh, this one's gonna be a really nice pickup now. Fierce Retribution, another way to destroy a creature that has already hit the board. Can destroy an attacking creature for only 2 mana. Can destroy any creature for 6, and Very importantly here, it's instant speed, so it helps make our Syncopate, our Thirst for Discovery, our Cradle of Safety, all that stuff just a little bit better. Now we've wheeled our first pack here. We have another Cradle of Safety or a Dawnheart Geist. I don't have a lot of 2-mana creatures here, so I'm actually okay with just taking a Dawnheart Geist. Again, it's a very filler card. We're just going to gain maybe 2 life on average with it. Sometimes we could gain up to like 6 if we disturb a lot, but it's not very exciting. I'm just not going to play double Cradle of Safety in here, I think. We're already competing pretty hard in the non-creature spell slot. We have Thirst for Discovery, Wedding Announcement, Sigarda's Imprisonment, Lunar Rejection, Cradle of Safety, Nurturing Presence, Double Syncopate. We already have a lot of non-creature stuff to do. I'm going to pick up the Geist. Just in case I really don't end up with enough 2-drops, then I can play a Dawnheart Geist, even though it's kind of filler. Another Syncopate or Dreadlight Monstrosity. I'm actually kind of interested in taking a Dreadlight Monstrosity here over the third Syncopate. I think we could use a third Syncopate, but with how late these have been going, we'll probably pick one up later. And Dreadlight Monstrosity is something that we completely don't have covered. We have nothing big to do after turn 3. After then, we're just doing nothing but disturbing cards. So just having some kind of big late game card to end the game should be solid here. Even though the card itself isn't that good, it's just something we don't have covered in our deck. So I'm going to take Dreadlight Monstrosity, and it's really good in this color pair because, well, not really good, but it works in this colors pair because we'll have cards in our exile, because our disturb cards, after the enchantment dies, it'll just remain exiled forever. So we'll definitely be able to give this unblockable late in the game. Ooh, real easy Alchemist Retrieval. I like this a lot more than Piercing Light. Sure, this doesn't actually kill the things permanently, but it can choose any non-land permanent to bounce to its owner's hand instead of only really mattering against small creatures specifically. So I like Alchemist Retrieval. This can also be used to save your own card, which is spicy, or redo your own Enter the Battlefield effect. Easy Alchemist Retrieval, and I'll take another one. Don't know if I'll play both, probably not, but we'll see. Pack 3, pick one. We kind of have 2 options here. Again, there's that Piercing Light I'm not very high on, but we've also got Biolume Egg, which is very, very good with exploit effects. You play this, you scry 2, and then if you ever sacrifice it, it'll come back as a 4/4, so incredibly good with exploit cards. We only have 1 right now. This has a lot of potential upside, or we could take our third Syncopate, or I guess an Evolving Wilds. I think I'm going to take the Biolume Egg. Just huge upside if you exploit this thing. And now if we see any of the 4-mana 3/3s that exploit a card, we can take those really highly. The Repository Scabs. Pack 3, pick 2 has loaded up on all the cards we'd like to put in our deck. We're still pretty low on 2-mana creatures to play. If we sort our non-creature cards out here real quick, to see what our creature curve looks like. It's a lot at 3 mana, and not a lot at 2. And a little bit at 1 mana. So we'd love to pick up a Panicked Bystander or a Fleeting Spirit. Both would be quite nice in this deck. Just a 2-mana 3/1 that can save itself by discarding a card, and maybe very late in the game starts getting first strike. Then the Panicked Bystander, whenever your creatures are dying, you're gaining life. We do have double Kindly Ancestor to potentially flip this into that 3/5 body, so that's kind of exciting for that reason too. But then there's also another Sigarda's Imprisonment for another great removal spell, and there's also Scattered Thoughts for another really good instant speed card draw spell. I think all 4 of those are really solid picks that are quite nice, and you can make a good argument for any of them, but I think I'm going to pick up another 2-drop creature. I think that's what I'm missing out a lot on here. I think I'm going to scoop up Bystander or Fleeting Spirit. I guess I'll go with Bystander. The reason is Fleeting Spirit, we're not going to be able to use the Exile 3 cards from our Graveyard ability too often and be too happy about it, because we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Disturb cards that we want to keep in our Graveyard. I suppose when we discard a card to the Fleeting Spirit's Exile ability, we can discard a Disturb card and be happy about that. But I don't know, I like the idea of Panic Bystander being able to flip if just like 1 creature dies, if a Kindly Ancestor's on board. Like we attack it with a Kindly Ancestor, and then if 1 creature dies during combat, then we've gained 2 from Ancestor and 1 from Panic Bystander's ability, which will flip it into a 3/5. Maybe I'm living in Magical Christmas land there, but I'm going to scoop up the Bystander there. Alright, wow, this is Going really well here. We can choose between that Scattered Thoughts or the Sigarda's Imprisonment now. So we get to take the 2-drop and still have another option to scoop up here. I think I'm going to go for another Sigarda's Imprisonment here. And we've got Siphon Essence, Cruel Witness. Not in love with either of those. Double Syncopate already. Don't think I need Siphon Essence that badly, but it does give us a blood token, which is quite nice. Helps us not flood out. Kind of hope my counterspell slot is filled up by Syncopates. I'm going to scoop up a Cruel Witness here. Nice 3/3 flyer on turn 4. Another Syncopate, another Kindly Ancestor are the options, and I'm going to go for another Kindly Ancestor pretty easily, especially now that we have that Panicked Bystander to try to trigger. Another Biolume Egg, but we only have 2 more packs we get to see here, and we have a single card that exploits in the deck. We just have not seen any blue or white cards that will exploit in this 3rd pack, so it doesn't look like the Biolume Eggs are going to work out too well for us. That being said, the other options are another Dreadlight Monstrosity or another Dawnheart Geist, neither of which are super exciting, so I'm probably still going to take the Egg here and just wheel whichever one of those 2 I want. Alright, pick 7. 2 final chances to hit cards that can exploit, and we did it this pack with Stitched Assistant, which I will take with triple Lantern Bearer and double Biolume Egg. However, there's also a Geistlight Snare, which is a pretty great counterspell in the blue-white deck because we have spirits and enchantments to make that cheaper to cast. Also Steelclad Spirit, which is a nice little blocker there, turn 2. But it's going to be Stitched Assistant, help us hit our synergies. And in the final pack, we do not see another exploit card, so Dreadlight Monstrosity it is. Pick up our 3rd Syncopate, be very happy about that. Fear of Death that I will not play. Honored Heirloom I will not play. And pretty much the rest of the pack. A bunch of stuff we're not really going to play around with. So here's a look at everything we've drafted here. We have 18 creatures and like 14 non-creatures right now, so we don't want to cut down on the creatures too much, although we're not that aggressive of a strategy. I think Wanderlight Spirit's one of the worst creatures in the deck, only being able to block flyers. The Biolume Eggs don't work particularly well in here. I do think the Stitched Assistants actually work well with these Lantern Bearers, but one thing to note is we only have 1 human in the deck. I'm pretty sure we have 2 humans in the deck, so Resistance Squad unfortunately did not really get there either. So I'm going to cut that, and then I think every other creature I'm going to keep in here. Every other creature seems pretty solid in this deck, or like fine filler, like Dawnheart Geist, Dreadlight Monstrosities. These aren't great creatures for their mana costs, but they fill our curve at those mana costs, so we have things to do at those points in the game. So I'm going to cut these creatures. These are just the ones that I think put in the least work in this deck. And then we get to cut 5 non-creature cards here. We are going to be a little low on the creature count, a 14 creature deck, but that's super fine in blue-white. When we have a bunch of counterspells and removal and stuff, we can make deal, especially with Wedding Announcement as well, potentially giving us more creatures here in the non-creature slot. So do we have any creatures that are like super important to save? I don't think we do. I don't think Cradle of Safety is actually that necessary in this deck, so I might cut that. Adamant will as well, because we're a little lower on the creature count. We're not going to get into combat as often. And then 3 more cards to cut. Maybe Nurturing Presence with a lower creature count. Especially because it's only a 1 of in this deck, so it doesn't get to do the duplicates thing that's really nice. Could cut like 1 Retrieval, 1 Syncopate. Cut 1 Nurturing Presence, 1 Retrieval, 1 Syncopate here. That seems alright to me. I kind of don't want to cut any Syncopates, though. So if we go Presence, Retrieval... I still don't really want to cut another Retrieval, because it's so cheap, just 2 mana for that bounce. Do we cut one of our creatures, maybe? 1 Dreadlight Monstrosity? Or do we cut, like, 1 land here? I feel like if I cut another Dreadlight Monstrosity, I'm really low on win conditions. Like, I can grind out a lot of good disturb value. I've got a lot of great interaction. But I do need to make sure I have some win conditions, which is what the Dreadlight Monstrosities are kind of doing for this deck. So I don't really want to cut one. Average is 2.5 in this deck. But we have a lot of mana, stuff that we want to hold up mana for, like Syncopates. where we'll want extra mana lying around. Like we'll want to be able to, on turn 5, like play a 3-drop and still hold up 2 mana to syncopate for 1. So you really don't want to miss land drops. I don't think I want to cut a land in this deck. Maybe I do just cut the Alchemist Retrieval. I still have Lunar Rejection to bounce 1 thing to hand. We've got Fierce Retribution, Double Imprisonment for things that land on the board. So hopefully it doesn't matter if we don't get to syncopate every single problem. Hopefully the Sigarda's Imprisonment and Fierce Retribution help us in that slot. I guess we could cut the Dawnheart Geist, but I like it with the Bystander. I like having 2-drop creatures. I think I will cut Retrieval here, and then our counts of colors looks like 13 blue cards, 10 white cards, 9-8 split seems pretty fine to me. Pretty much perfect, so we'll call this a deck. Alright, here we are with our completed Innistrad Crimson Vow Quick Draft deck. This is going to be a blue-white Disturb deck. We have the cheap Disturb creatures like Lantern Bearer, Drogskull Infantry, Kindly Ancestors, so that we can just attack with those, trade them in, and chump block with them willy-nilly and still get value with them out of the graveyard. We have a couple Stitched Assistants to sacrifice these Lantern Bearers for good value, scrying and drawing. So we have a lot of ways to get 2-for-1s just by having a bunch of Disturb cards. So we just try to win this game through incremental value, ending up a couple cards from our opponent and having a bunch of 1-for-1 interaction like Sigarda's Imprisonment, Fierce Retribution to destroy cards that are currently on the board, and Syncopate to counter things as they're being cast. We have more ways to go up in card advantage to be able to cast so many 1-for-1 pieces of interaction. Wedding Announcement is always a 3-for-1. We're going to get 2 1/1s and flip this, or we're going to draw 2 cards and flip this, or we'll get 1/1/1 draw a card and flip this. Any combination of those 3 is incredible. Thirst for Discovery is, I guess it's a 2-for-1 because you draw 3 cards, but you discard 1 of them. You discard a basic land, but still a great way to get some cards to go up in cards there. And yeah, our biggest win conditions are just a couple big old Dreadlight Monstrosities because we just don't have a lot of big creatures to try to close out the game. So we kind of put the filler big old crab horror in there. The Lighthouse itself is going to be attacking in because otherwise, you know, we're grinding out a long game of value of trading off all our Disturb stuff and slapping them onto each other and all that value, but not really closing out the game. So that's what the double Dreadlight Monstrosity and the Cruel Witness, since it's a nice unblockable creature, are for. So that is the deck, and we'll see how our blue-white Disturb deck does as we head into round 1. Here we are in round 1, and we're in a mild predicament here. Every single card in our hand costs 3 mana, but we also have the strongest card in our whole deck and multiple really powerful ones. And we're on the draw. I am almost 100% certain it's absolutely correct to keep this hand. That being said, it is not impossible that we get punished for it. And we draw more 3 mana cards. We did draw our land though, so we'll definitely get some good stuff going on here, and it's going to be the blue-white mirror match this game. Wanderlight Spirit is going to be the play for our opponents, so we know they don't get to counter our Wedding Announcement, so I'm just going to slam it down right now. Get those humans out of it, and flip it pretty quickly here. Estwald Shield Basher's the play from our opponent. 4/2 that gets to get indestructible for 1 mana every time it attacks. So we could imprison that or play Stitched Assistant, draw a card off this human, which is pretty good. Force them to spend mana every time they want to attack with that. We could just play a Kindly Ancestor to start getting some lifelink soon. Try to just outrace them with Double Imprisonment and Fierce Retribution. I think I've got this if this game goes long. So let's get some lifelink out so we can gain some life. make sure we can get a little bit of a cushion to stem the bleeding. Could also have gone for imprisonment on Shield Basher there. I don't think that'd be terrible. Circle of Confinement. There goes our kindly ancestor. They're attacking for 6 again. I'll take it. Down to 12. Now Lantern Bearer is the play. Let's get another kindly ancestor down and hold up Fierce Retribution. Oh wow, we get 3 1/1s off of this? And then flip it? That's crazy. That is even better than I thought it was. Good lord. Yeah, now our opponent has to keep spending the 1 mana. And if the ability goes on the stack, I can actually just blow up the Shield Basher in response. Before that resolves. Got a lot of blockers on the ground though, I'm fine with that. We'll just start trumping, I think. Let's see if they have a Cradle of Safety in hand to save the Wanderlight Spirit. It looked like they might have wanted to do some kind of interaction there, but they're holding off for now. Alright, we kill the Wanderlight Spirit. Chump with a human, take 1, down to 11. We're just going to pass the turn. We're holding up Syncopate. We can imprison Shield Basher and Syncopate for 1. Although they have a lot of mana, highly unlikely to Syncopate for 1 is going to do anything, but we'll see. Maybe we'll just Syncopate whatever removal they're using here. Supernatural Rescue. Even if I counter that, it still tapped 2 of my cards. Then it just gives +1/+2 to the Lantern Bearer. Yeah, +1/+2 is fine. Alright, I don't think I need to counter that. I already got the main part done, which is tapping 2 of my cards. Imprison the Shield Basher, start taking 2 a turn. I should have attacked with that. Oh wait, we're still going to combat. There we go. I do get to attack with it. I thought I was in main phase 2 because of the Supernatural Rescue and all that. Thank goodness I was not. They're just gonna scoop them up. They do not like the wedding festivities on our board. Like, yeah, now they get to keep chipping in for 2, but we get to keep chipping in for 3 and gaining 3 life, and even if they blow up that lifelinker, if it's by destroying it instead of exiling it, we can just give anything else lifelink and still really win the race, so it'll be 1-0 to start it off. We are in game 2 of our Crimson Vow quick draft. Rough mana here. Could still keep it because we're holding on a Syncopate at least, and we're on the draw. On the play, I don't think we can keep this at all, but on the draw, it's a possibility. I probably still shouldn't. Yeah, I think I am going to take the mulligan here. This looks a lot better. Probably get rid of this Dreadlight monstrosity, because that is for much later on. Lantern Bearer, turn 1 from our opponent, could be another mirror match. We'll find out soon enough. Certainly is another blue-white Disturb deck from our opponent here. Circle of Confinement to exile our Lantern Bearer. Fair enough. Rather play this Lantern Bearer than hold up a Syncopate for their turn 3 play, unless it's literally Wedding Announcement, we'll probably be fine. Because now we have our own Wedding Announcement to play. But If we both had the exact same hand, but they were on the play and we're on the draw, the person on the play is going to win. So hopefully, no wedding announcement. Ooh, Radiant Grace. That is scary. Going to hit us for 2 a turn now instead of 1 a turn. And when enchanted creature dies, return this to the battlefield transformed. And then our creatures enter tapped. It's annoying, but that's probably fine, actually. I'll actually just take that trade. Have our creatures enter tapped. Right, this is even better. Get the Cradle of Safety out of the way so that when I hit a Dreadful Apathy or what is the 2-mana removal called? I forgot. Dreadful Apathy or the other one. We just 3-for-1 them. Walking down the Lantern Bearer. There's a Foreboding Statue from our opponents. Play a Lantern Bearer and just hold up a Syncopate, or I could just play a Kindly Ancestor so I can maybe start gaining some life. That's probably better. Start coming back into it here. Alright, 4th mana from our opponent. They only have 2 cards left in their hand here. They do have a lot committed onto that Lantern Bearer. A lot of their cards. Down to 13. Mischievous Catgeist, down to 1 card in hand from our opponent. Give our Kindly Ancestor flying here. If the last card in their hand isn't interaction, giving Kindly Ancestor flying here is like massive. So I'm gonna try it. See what their card in hand is here when we go for this. Could just be the 2-mana Destroy an Attacker. Be sad, but not the end of the world. They'd be out of cards after that. Alright, we gain the 3, drop a Lantern Bearer, and get another 1/1 here. And then we flip this and give our whole board +1/+1. Wedding Festivity round 2. Electric Boogaloo. Scattered Thoughts from our opponent, digging for some answers here. Put 2 cards from the top 4 into their hand and the rest into the graveyard. Discarding a Dawnheart Geist, Ceremonial Knife. Playing a Lantern Bearer. And a land. Gonna chip in with the Vigilant Lantern Bearer. Or not. They might not want to trade into our Lantern Bearer. Alright, they're going to send it in. I'll take this trade. We'll have our creatures come into play tapped now. And they could throw flying onto the Catgeist. Not super worried about that. Well, maybe I should be. Maybe we just imprison the Catgeist. And they're down to 7 here. Probably don't. Probably just play more creatures and hold up a Syncopate for 1 that might happen. We're very far ahead here. I don't think them drawing 1 extra card is going to get them anywhere. Plus, since we're tapped out, the Catgeist doesn't even need the flying to draw the card here. Alright, they're gonna dig. Draw a card off Catgeist. Dream Shackle Geist. Unfortunately, with their Foreboding Statue, my opponent can pay for this Syncopate. So Dream Shackle Geist resolves. They want to tap the statue anyway because it untaps in the end step. At the beginning of combat on your turn, tap a creature or keep a creature tapped down. Okay, so we can imprison it now, but it still gets to use its ability, or we can put it back in their hand. They have 3 blockers. If they only have 2 blockers, they block there and take 6. We actually, because it only has 1 toughness, we just return the Thresher to hand, and they're forced to chump block with the Geist, or trade it off into our 3/3 at least. Because they can't not block these two. They have to block both of them, take 6, go to 1. So there's the concession from our opponent. Wedding Invitation and Wedding Festivities is just demolishing people in these games. Really just kind of how Crimson Vow, the format, very much tends to go in a lot of the games. Just some ridiculous, ridiculous rares. This time, we're the ones casting them. Alright, here we are, game 3. We're on the play with double Lantern Bearer in the hand and Stitched Assistant to sacrifice one of them, scry one and draw a card. Late game Dreadlight Monstrosity to really get in there too. Against another white deck here. They play an island. I'm about to flip. Alright, white-black this time. Black-white life gain is one of the best things the color pair can do. Go ahead and get assisting, get stitching, scry one, draw a card, take that land. Actually, I need another blue source pretty badly, so I'm actually going to scry that away, hoping for islands. Another plains is not that valuable to us. Markov Purifier is the big gold uncommon of the color pair. That card is a very big deal, even if we pacify it. But it is much less of a big deal if we pacify it, so I definitely see doing that here. I think I will pacify it for now. If they don't get any other ways to gain life, they will not be drawing any cards off of it, since it won't be attacking or blocking. And if we get to 5 mana, we can exile that. Another downside to pacifism-style removal in this format is that they could have Exploit in their black deck, black cards that can sacrifice a creature for value. Alright, there's the 5th mana. We can exile Purifier right now, but I think I would rather get into the sky, keep pressure on our opponent, keep them dead in 4 attacks, I guess. Actually, no, it's 3 attacks. It's 5 damage here. Yeah, looking pretty good here. We drop Bystander or hold up Syncopate. If we just maintain the board state as is, we win this game, so I'm going to hold up Syncopate. Because our opponent is stuck on mana here. They didn't play a 4th land, so they're probably tapping out for whatever they're trying to do. And Syncopate is excellent in those situations. As you can see here, countering their big flyer that potentially gains life. So we know we're hitting for 5 again this turn, putting them down to 3. They're going to need something very good to get out of this one now. Yep, now we drop Ancestor and Bystander. This only triggers in my end step, right? Beginning of your end step if you gain 3 or more life. Okay. So I can't just trade off a Kindly Ancestor and flip my Bystander during their turn. Sure, if you want a combat trick to kill my Ancestor, you got... Well, no, they're just very dead on board if we just don't lose a creature. We just attack all. That's pretty fine. They don't have the mana to give lifelink here. Just play it extra safe against the weird 1 mana trick. Yep, and that will be game. That'll be 3 and oh, just some really nice work done by our Disturbed cards there. The Lantern Bearer alongside Stitched Assistant was pretty nice. Just luckily for us, our opponent didn't have any removal to clear out that Flying Assistant. Here we are now in game 3. Looks like it's going to be another Wedding Announcement game. Or this is game 4, sorry. Dawnheart Geist into Wedding Announcement is going to be our curve. We are, however, on the draw, so not curving out as quickly as possible. And if our opponent plays an island, we have to pay attention to Syncopate. Our opponent plays a swamp here, another white-black deck. Perish Blade Trainee is the first play. Not that worried about that. They'll need a solid follow-up play this turn, which they probably will have. We'll actually get some work done here. But we can still block it as a 2-3 over and over. Okay. Bloodseeker doesn't work well with it, since it's just a 1-3, but if it flips, it will. If they get 2 blood tokens on the board, they can flip the Bloodseeker into a 3-3. That does a lot of stuff. Alright, wedding announcement. Just slam it down. You know the line by now. Play your bomb rare. So I could use a combat trick here to buff the Bloodseeker, then attack both. Or there's nothing removal can really do for them here, because our creatures don't really matter. It's the enchantment that matters. Diagraph Scavenger, alright. It doesn't do much. So they just pass turn, I'm assuming? I guess they get double attack. Okay, now we're holding up Fierce Rejection and Lunar Rejection, and/or just pass the turn, get another 1-1. Getting closer to the flip. That'll be at the end of next turn. They've got 5 mana up. We've got a Circle of Confinement. Exile a creature. Sure, goodbye Dawn Heartgeist. You got it. Fine by me, I'll have 3 2/2s next turn. Have all the blockers I need. Train the Perish Blade Trainee up. And let's say blow up Scavenger. I'll just bounce Perish Blade Trainee later. Probably didn't play that super well. I should have just... I guess I couldn't have blown up the Scavenger until the attack was already declared. Yes, I could have Lunar Rejection Scavenger before they attacked in. Yeah, you know what? Lunar Rejection on Trainee actually seems pretty good here. They're tapped out of white mana. There's no blocks. And I was going to say, if I rejected the Scavenger, it's possible to get a little value off of it later, especially because we're a Disturb deck. Alright, now we just jam out a ridiculous board state, because it's all going to have +1/+1. Pass turn, and we should be pretty far in the lead here. We're at 19, they're at 20, but we have a larger board state and more cards in hand. They play their own Kindly Ancestor. Hit the second blue for Cruel Witness, and Dreadlight Monstrosity later, potentially. Send in these two, because they've got good disturbs. I might hold the Ancestor back. Just send in the Lantern Bearer. Don't think I need to hold up Syncopate right now, so I'm going to drop Cruel Witness. We have a Fierce Retribution if something real scary happens. There's the Perish Blade Trainee. Looks like that might be it for the turn. They're thinking about entering combat here, but again, all these 2/2s, our ground is nice and cluttered up for us. Okay, there's the 6 mana for Dreadlight Monstrosity, and we have an exiled card thanks to their Circle of Confinement. So we keep sitting behind our mountain of dudes, and dropping another big unblockable threat. Ragged Recluse. Just a 2/1, unless they sacrifice a blood token and discard a card. Then it'll turn into a 3/3. It can drain us for life every time it attacks. I can't think of any Blade Brands or anything like that in this format that give Death Touch till end of turn, so... snap blocking here. Just in case, though, I think I'll keep Monstrosity out of it. I don't think there's a reason not to. It's not like these 2/2s are ever getting in. Just trying to make Courier Bat big enough to survive. Survive blocking a Lantern Bearer. Alright, they gained life, so they get a blood token. Just send in for 10 and then kill them next turn. That costs 1 more mana than I thought it did. I thought the ability cost 4 mana. It's actually kind of rough. I wanted to hold up Retribution and do that. It's Ward 2, right? Yeah, so they cannot afford a Retribution on Monstrosity. Alright. Oh, and I can't hold up Syncopate either, because Monstrosity's ability was 1 more mana than I thought it was. 5 mana to do that? That's a lot. But I kind of have to. They've got a Death Toucher out. I guess I probably just shouldn't have gone for the Monstrosity attack this turn. Waited till I had 7 mana. Again, did not realize it was 5 mana, not 4 mana. If I did, I probably would have waited. Just not attacked with Monstrosity this turn. Not until we can hold up a 2 mana spell and still do it. Now they're flipping that Ragged Recluse in their end step. They're actually getting a little bit of stuff done here. Don't know if it'll be enough, but it's not ideal. There's the Ancestors' Embrace on the Courier Bats. You're going to send it in this turn, go up to 11. And this is where that Retribution would have been awesome. Another Dreadlight Monstrosity. We can hit them for 8 if we make Monstrosity unblockable and send both in, but then we're holding nothing up again. But that honestly might be worth it now, because we're putting them down to 3 life. Which is dead to 1 hit from Monstrosity. That lifelink and Courier Bat's a big deal, though. I might just hold all my mana up. Just gonna hold all my mana up for a Retribution and a Syncopate. One damage off a lethal crackback with the flyer and the unblockable Monstrosity. There's a Heron of Hope. Syncopate lest they pay 2. Keep that out of the sky. Go for that Courier Bat life gain and we'll Retribution it. I think that went pretty well overall. Now we can attack all, right? No, attacking all wouldn't be lethal because they can block all 3 of the other creatures. Still probably be fine. I don't know if it would be good though. Yeah, just attack these 2 again. Put them to 1 now. Even if they blow up Monstrosity, Lantern Bearer can find the kill, and if they blow both of them up, if they didn't exile them, we can just use the Lantern's Lift to send something else in the sky to finish them off. There's a gluttonous guest, which gets them another blood token. Can use to gain some life or flip the Bloodseeker or any of that, but none of that finds the win. Yep, they're just gonna dig. Discarding a Catilda. They had a Catilda with no double white. All game, that's insane. Catilda's another one of the best bombs in the format. Really powerful card. Really good in blue-white Disturb. But quite good in pretty much anything. Catilda would have been a sweet one to open up. Oh, I should have double blocked the 1/3. That was dumb. But that will still find us the win. Wedding invitation and wedding festivities. Take another one. We are now 4-0. Time flies in these drafts sometimes. Yeah, 4-0. Round 5 now. We are on the play. I'll keep this here. Bunch of 3 drops, but we've got the 3 mana we need. Opponent is on red. Let's see what they're up to here. Hopefully not red-black. I'm always scared of the vampire deck. Well, there in Epicures. Pretty spooky start. Red-black it is. This is going to be a scary matchup. It can be a very aggressive vampire deck with a lot of blood tokens, so they just never stop drawing gas. It is impossible for the red-black decks to flood out with the amount of blood tokens they can produce. Just sift through every land they draw after like their 5th. So there's Fearful Villager from our opponent, 2/3 Menace. That's a 4/3 Menace at night. Pretty scary. Keep dropping Ancestors, I guess. It's going to be hard for them to outrace a couple Lifelinkers, especially with Disturb. Next turn we could Stitched Assistant, get our Lanterns Lift in the graveyard, to potentially put on a lifelinker later. Desperate Farmer is always scary. After one of their creatures dies, it turns into a 4/3 lifelink. Pretty big deal. Don't think I want to imprison anything just yet, so I might go for a Thirst for Discovery here. But maybe I'm also supposed to just go for Stitched Assistant. I don't know. Stitched Assistant is solid on this board. A 3-power creature against potential 4/3s. It's pretty good. Yeah, I'm actually going to go for that. Let's Stitched Assistant here. Land. Don't really need more lands. I'm gonna put that on bottom, try to hit like a Syncopate this turn. But I was gonna say like one more land would be a solid pickup to guarantee Thirst for Discovery only discards 1 card. Yeah, I'm glad I scryed to the bottom if the next card was also a land. Opponent is gonna pass turn to make it nighttime, and now we have a Syncopate. So now we can Thirst for Discovery and Syncopate. I think I want to play a land so I can Syncopate a little harder. But then I'm just going to pass turn. Syncopate 2, Syncopate harder. Excuse me. I don't love that. I might Syncopate that. We've got an Imprisonment if they play a bomb. I think I'm going to Syncopate that, and I'm going to Thirst for Discovery first. So we're casting 2 spells and flipping Werewolf back then. Got 4 blue sources and only 2 white. Let's keep the 3rd white source. Cool. Now it's back to daytime. Opponent plays a land. That's a little scary. They want the 6th land, they still don't want to discard a land to a blood token right now. They might have something real big in hand. They have like Olivia? Olivia's not actually that bad here because they don't have anything in grave. Okay, Gluttonous Guest. Get another blood token and now they're gaining life when they use them, and then a Mind Leech Ghoul. They can sack the Epicure, flip the Farmer, and make me discard my planes. Oh no! Goodbye, planes. Flipped. Again, flipped Farmer's not that bad since we played our Stitched Assistant. We'll just trade into it. 1 for 1. Our opponent is very disinterested in that trade. They aren't even gonna offer, which is rude. Whoa, I accidentally closed Arena, or minimized Arena. Okay, so we're gonna put Lantern Bearer on a Kindly Ancestor and start winning this race if they don't play another removal spell. Winning this race pretty handedly. Draining them for 3 life. Every turn basically a 6 life point swing. They go down 3 and I go up 3. And we have the blockers for everything on their board, except for Fearful Villager. If that flips, that could be a bit of an issue. And they've drawn Lacerate Flesh, so much for that. We're still doing great here. Like, we're gonna end in the better position because of all our removal. They just can't really do much. Yeah, like we just trade for Harvester and kill the Villager, and then we still have backup removal. Now this is still fine. Their blood tokens are definitely going to put in work, though. Make sure they can keep drawing well. But on board, we've reached parity. Hey, now we're winning on board. Wedding announcements, pretty sick draw. Pretty sick draw. We'll drop our bystander as well, because there's no way I'm imprisoning one of those creatures right now. Alright, opponent is going to start digging with these blood tokens. Discards a mountain to draw a card, gains a life. Opponent discards the swamp, draws a card, gains a life. Passes through the turn. I'm going to hold this Plains in case they have more Mind Leech Ghouls in their deck. I don't think we're really attacking until this wedding announcement flips. Just keep getting 1/1s, that's fine. Like, I could attack with Ancestor and Bystander and let one of them trade into the Ghoul. Wouldn't be terrible. And then I draw a card in the end step. Oh yeah, that's really not bad. Just gonna go for the single block on Bystander. We'll gain off of the guest block. Probably, I guess, if we attack with only Ancestor, their only way to kill something would be the double block on Ancestor, which we'd gain 2 life plus 1 life when it dies, which would flip the cackling thing. So actually, I think attacking only Ancestor was better there. Okay, we have plenty of lands now. Drop a monstrosity. I don't want to put a lifelink on it right now, because if they have sorcery speed removal, they'll 2-for-1 us. Make it so they have to have instant speed removal if they want to get the 2-for-1. Uh-oh, the white source for the splash. Grisly Ritual, sorcery speed removal, which they are going to pay for, so glad I didn't give it lifelink there. Drogskull Infantry off the top. That is fine. And I should be attacking with these 2/2s here, because they can only kill them if they lose their Archghoul. So I'm kind of getting in for like 2 a turn. Or getting rid of the Archghoul. Or getting rid of the Archghoul. Okay, drop an infantry. Pass turn. I guess they're in black so they can have Diregraph Scavengers, so maybe I need to use the Ancestors more aggressively. But I feel like lifelink doesn't matter too much now. I'm at 25 life. It could matter to make sure they can't exile them, so I at least get some value off of them. But I guess even if I used both of them before they get Diregraph Scavengers, they can still exile like monstrosities to still drain me for 2 life. So we can't stop them from doing the life drain ability, all we do is stop them from hitting one of our cards. Blood Crazed Socialite, that trades 1-for-1 into infantry. Opponent is really going through their deck. Whatever their white bomb rare is, they're going to draw at this game. We need to be ready. Hopefully Sigarda's Imprisonment is enough for whatever it is. If it is Lord Edgar Markov, Sigarda's Imprisonment does it for 8 mana, 3 to attach it, and then 5 to exile Lord Markov. Probably fine. Slap lifelink onto infantry here, so we're still getting something out of attacking, even if they just block with the guest. Trade with Socialite, alright. I'm gonna play around Scavenger here this time. And then if they have like a targeted removal for our token, then they got it. But their board is just a 1/4 afterwards. Oh, it's exactly big enough. Wow. And Ragged Recluse. Doesn't do anything until they get a blood token. Oh dear. Let's say it's going to take them a long time to find lethal. Four three's pretty good here. Ooh, Lantern Bearer. Drop Lantern Bearer. We're back up to 25 now. Probably prison the Desperate Farmer. Don't attack with Stitched Assistant because they double block right now. Just save it for now. We definitely get the blood token off the farmer, so if we draw another land, we get to discard that to the blood. Okay, exile in the end step here. We've got our blood token and we hit a Kindly Ancestor. So I could imprison their Recluse, but I need to be prepared for what this white bomb is. They're gonna draw it. They have 10 cards left, so if it's a wedding invitation, that's gonna be really bad. I think I'm just attacking with Lantern Bearer. And Kindly Ancestor next turn. Just not... I'm going to draw the card here. Not going to do anything with Imprisonment right now. Ooh, Syncopate? Well, now we can probably use Imprisonment next turn. Should have enough mana to Syncopate anything that costs like 5 or more. They've got 9 mana up. Yeah, like... Imprison and hold up a Syncopate for 5. Now we get full swings in here. We're down to 18, we're up to 27. The life totals have fluctuated a lot this game with all the life gain. We're down to 8 cards in library. There's Path of Peril as the bomb. Alright, gets syncopated. Then a Belligerent Guest, a 3/2 trample on the ground. Trades into one of our attackers. Not a big deal. Just keep sending in. They trade it off, we hit for 5. Drop another Lantern Bearer. Exile that guest. Draw a card. Another island. Alright, pass the turn. Cruel Witness is the draw. Pretty good one. Hit for 7. They're just going to scoop them up. They are over it, and that'll be 5-0 for the Crimson Vow Quick Draft. Alright, here we go now. Round 6. We've got a turn 2 Drogskull Infantry, an Imprisonment to hold up, and a Fierce Retribution we just drew into. A lot of interaction here, but our opponent is on the play, so they're going to get the aggressive start here with their white-black deck. And they really are going to get the aggressive start here with Graph Reaver. Turn 2, the 2 mana, 3/3. Does damage them in their upkeep though, 1 damage per turn, so hopefully we can make use of that and get some good counterattacks in to really pressure their life total. Courier Bat is the play here. I'm actually very tempted to just try to pressure their life total and like imprison that bat. But I can also just attack into it, and that'll also put pressure on them because they're not going to trade. Most likely. And then we just play a Kindly Ancestor. Now we have a Fierce Retribution and an Imprisonment for removal, as well as a Syncopate. I'd like to try not to remove the Graph Reaver, just work alongside it. Ooh, Ragged Recluse. Okay, Dawnheart Geist is the draw. Or is the play. Ragged Recluse is the play, Dawnheart Geist is the draw. My brain has ceased to function. I mean, I think we're attacking both here and gaining the Kindly Ancestor life. Unless they Retribution the Ancestor. They do Retribution the Ancestor. Pretty annoying. We'll syncopate that, I think. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Still hold up our Fierce Retribution. Now we're up to 14, they're down to 12. And then, yeah, I think I'm Retributioning here. And then next turn we could go Geist and Imprisonment if we draw land. We draw a plane specifically, but still good. Estwald Shield Basher can potentially attack indestructibly. Killing the Flyer or the Recluse? I think we're killing the Flyer. Again, not killing the Graph Reaver. That's my friend over there. We're working together to take down our opponent. I could Lunar Rejection instead of Imprisonment, which is pretty fine. Yeah, it draws us the card to try to hit that land we're looking for. Doesn't hit the land, but hits Syncopate, which is okay. Opponent's down to 7, we're at 11. They're down to 6 now from Graph Reaver. We're at 11 with 5 damage on their board. Perish Blade Trainee. Attack both. They're holding up something for 2 mana. I can't think of what that would be. I play Dawnheartgeist, gain the life off imprisoning this trainee, and hit them for all the damage we can to put them to 1 in their upkeep. I don't know why they went for trainee over the 4-2. I wonder what was in their hand. Very interested. So they're at 1 life now. They basically have to kill us right now or Graph Reaver will kill them. Or they have to find a way to gain life. This is not going to kill us. No blocks. Down to 4. Hold up a Syncopate if they do something in their upkeep before Reaver resolves. And looks like they don't have any direct damage to play in their upkeep. So Graph Reaver is going to kill our opponent there. It's going to be 6-0 now. Here we are in what could be the final game of this Innistrad Crimson Vow quick draft. We are 6-0, have not dropped a game. See if we can't 7-0 with this pretty sweet blue-white Spirits deck. Playing against a red deck here. Always scared of the red-black in this format. Red-white it is. That can still be pretty aggressive, and they're going to go for Flamebreaker turn, or Flame Breather turn 1, which I will allow. It might be kind of obvious to our opponent that we have Syncopate now, unfortunately, because I did wait a little bit there. I was like, is that going to be good enough? If we were red-blue, I might have just countered Flame Breather, but I think red-white will be fine against a Kessig Flame Breather. Especially with double Kindly Ancestor in hand to counteract the damage that can deal. Opponent is going to immediately abrade our Kindly Ancestor. Get that life gain off the board. They don't want to deal with it. Well, here comes another. And maybe even a Flame Blessed Bolt on our Lantern Bearer. I hope not. Alright, they don't have the Flame Blessed Bolt unless they drew it this turn. That is the 1 mana instant for 2 damage to any creature and you exile it. Really good against the blue-white decks. Really good in general. Just very efficient removal. Another Flame Breather, alright, they're trying to stack up the Flame Breathers. Get a lot of damage in. Wedding Invitation, alright, they are going. Flame Breather go brrr. Ooh, Stitched Assistant is actually quite nice to throw flying onto a Kindly Ancestor later. I like that a lot. I think I'm going to hit for 1 with this Lantern Bearer and gain the life off of Kindly Ancestor. And then I think I will sacrifice the Lantern Bearer here so we can potentially get a flying lifelinker going on. Scry 1, draw a card. Land is fine. It's not great. I'm just going to draw the card. Lunar Rejection is the card. Okay. Pass turn. Holding up Fierce Retribution or Syncopate. Reckless Impulse. I will allow it. End of your next turn. Yeah, so even if I tax them on like 1 mana here, they'll pretty easily cast those spells. Oh wow, has our opponent just found the way to abuse the quick draft bots? Do they just never take Kessig Flame Breather? That could be a problem. In full-on Innistrad Premier Draft, people did get to a point where they respect the Kessig Flame Breathers, and you couldn't usually get to like the 5 Flame Breather deck where you just loop your whole deck and win really quick. But looks like our opponent has kind of done that here. We do get to syncopate this Traveling Minister at least. We hit a land, we can send a Kindly Ancestor into the sky, and we can give a Stitched Assistant lifelink, I guess. I'm going to try to Lunar Rejection to get one of these Flame Breathers killed. Or are they just going to triple block Ancestor if I do that? This might be greedy, but I'm going to see if I can get one of these Flame Breathers killed. They go for a double block on Assistant. I guess if they triple block Ancestor, I can still just bounce one. I just don't end up killing a Flame Breather that way. Okay, cool. So I still just bounce one and just don't kill a Flame Breather. That's fine. Because I don't lose a creature in the process. And I gain 5. Oh, and now there's a Wedding Announcement coming up. Next turn I can cast Wedding Announcement and Lantern Bearer, which should be great. Opponent is going to recast that Flame Breather. They have 3 mana left. They can play a Sure Strike and just get as much Flame Breather damage in as they can here, or they can lose the Sure Strike value with the Reckless Impulse. This is literally the Flame Breather go brrr deck. This is scary. Got a lot of life gain though. Try to counteract this. Now, there was a period of time, like in the middle of the Crimson Vow format, where this deck was really, really strong because it's very underdrafted. And the bot drafts might be at a similar pick order to that time. Yeah, so we Wedding Announcement and Lantern Bearer on the Ancestor, I think. I guess I don't get a blocker out of it here, which is kind of scary, but we're at 15? I was gonna say, since I attacked with 2 creatures, I don't actually get the 1/1 here. We're at 15. Fingers crossed, not too many more non-creature spells, no Ancestral Angers. Oh my god. Just have all the non-creature spells that draw a card, like Wedding Invitation and Ancestral Anger. It's a very cool deck to see when it comes together. Alright, that's it for there. Gain our 6th life here, I guess. Kill one of these Flame Breathers. Do I hold an Assistant back now so I can get another 1/1 to block with? I think I gain the 6th life. Kill a single Flame Breather if they go for blocks here. Triple block. Yep, kill one of these Flame Breathers. They have the Retribution on Ancestor. That's really annoying. You got it. Draw a card again here rather than get a 1/1. Still gaining 3, going back up to 12, I guess, because we just took 3 and now we're gaining 3. Imprisonment is just bad here, so is it better to just play Monstrosity than Lantern Bearer? Probably. Unless they have the Active Treason effect. Could you imagine we're just going to get slammed by the Active Treason here? That'll be how it ends? That'd be funny. They might be running that in that deck. Steal a creature and hit us with it. Fleeting Spirits. Okay. Give this 5/5 lifelink. Hold up our Syncopate. Seems like definitely the play. Just gain 5 here. We don't have the mana for the unblockability. We'll kill a Spirit and a Flame Breather if they block with all. Or they're going to try to combat trick with the Spirit. We'll Syncopate in response. Oh, they're going to flicker it so they don't gain life. That is smart. That is very much a play. Get a blocker down. Hold up Syncopate, Fierce Retribution, or Thirst for Discovery based on what happens. We get another blocker as well. So we won't be getting attacked here unless they Wedding Invitation. Yeah, Wedding Invitation, not Wedding Announcement. I probably mixed up those names at some point. My apologies if I have. Ancestral Anger, the Fleeting Spirit. Can't counter that, you got it. We're going to try to make that big enough and give it unblockable for the kill. And then we Fierce Retribution, they have to flicker it and they don't kill us. If they have another Anger, they get there on board, but again, with Fierce Retribution in hand, we survive. Okay, give it the unblockable. Pass. Attack in. Force the flicker here. Unless they have the indestructible combat trick. Alright, flicker it. Getting our life gain off our Dreadlight Monstrosity. Don't attack with the 2/2 on the ground. Don't really imprison anything. I guess we could try to imprison the spirit, make them discard the last card in their hand. I guess we just try to do unblockable and see if this is just 8 damage. Alright, just 8 damage, no Fierce Retribution in their hand there. We are going to beat the Kessig Flamebreather deck, which it's nice for us. We get the nice 7-0 run out of this quick draft, but also that was a pretty cool deck, so would have been a fine loss. That actually kind of makes me want to go into a quick draft and see how frequently the Flame Breathers are picked up, because I think I did have a previous quick draft where they weren't getting drafted very highly at all, so maybe the Flame Breather deck is a really real thing in the quick draft format. I don't know, we'll see. Either way, really nice record out of this blue-white Disturb deck. We had most of the sick cards that make you want to play this deck. We had triple Lantern Bearer, triple Kylie Ancestor, a couple Stitched Assistants that'll work really well with those Lantern Bearers. Yeah, those were kind of the core to the deck. Just often attacking in with those, trading those in, exploiting them, and then just slapping them onto other creatures for a lot of early damage. We actually won a lot of games without Dreadlight Monstrosity, but that's because we drew Wedding Announcement a lot. But there were even some games where we didn't draw. I think there was like one game maybe where we didn't draw Monstrosity or Announcement, and we just kind of grinded it out with Lantern Bearers on random creatures to get in for that flying damage. So probably overestimated how much I needed a big win condition like Dreadlight Monstrosity. Just throwing Lantern Bearer onto random creatures can definitely win a game that Lanterns lift. So maybe in the future an adjustment to this deck would have been like -1 Monstrosity +1 Wanderlight Spirit or something weird. I don't know. The Monstrosities were good though. They were solid in here. Really liked the triple Syncopate, loved the interaction, Imprisonment, Fierce Retribution, Lunar Injection, Thirst for Discovery was great too, and obviously the very bomb-heavy format of Innistrad Crimson Vow, the mega bomb of Wedding Announcement, won us probably a majority of the games. This card was just absurd every time we drew it, and it obviously won every game we drew it in. We didn't lose a game all draft. So yeah, Wedding Announcement, an absolutely ridiculous card. Even more ridiculous than I thought. It's not a 3-for-1, it's a 4-for-1. You get 3 1/1s and then flip this. Or you get 3 card draws, then flip this, or any combination of the two. So it's literally better than I keep saying that it is. It's absolute absurdity. And it's going to give us a 7-0 run. But that's kind of just the way of Innistrad Crimson Vow sometimes. Well, that is going to end today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, you can always leave a like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send some more of these videos to you in your recommended feeds. And I will see you all again soon for some more Magic Arena.